Elevating Women to Positions of Supply Chain Leadership. I'm joined by Meredith Singletary, Senior Director of HR and Head of Diversity and Inclusion in North America with DHL Supply Chain. Hi, Meredith.
Hi, Bob. Nice to be with you today.
Thank you for being with me. So you attended at Manifest 2022. You attended a luncheon on the theme of Women Elevating Women. What was your impression of that event and what struck you particularly about it?
Yeah, it was a really great event, Bob. So I have to say, afterwards, it has been really exciting to hear how people reacted to it overall. I've gotten a lot of people reaching out and wanting to talk more about this really important topic. What I loved most about the room was that it was both women and men in the room. So, it's important to me as we talk about elevating women within the supply chain industry, that we also talk about how men can help to support that effort. So I think a lot of times men don't feel invited to that conversation, or if they see something that says women's networking lunch, they think, you know what, that's probably not for me. I don't belong there. And we were very clear to make sure that the men were invited, and we had a really nice population, both of males and females, getting together talking about this, really critical thing.
Well, that's encouraging. I mean, but what is it that men could do at this point to serve in mentorship roles, or are there other things that they could do in order to increase the participation of women in this industry?
Yeah, it's a great question. And frankly, we talked some about pieces that they could do. I certainly think sponsorship and mentorship is a huge piece of it. But, honestly, also our leadership in supply chain organizations are often male. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I've never succeeded at doing anything without the support of my leadership, right? So if they don't see it as important or something that they want to work on, it's not going to be something that the organization prioritizes either. So it's important that they, both participate in things like sponsorship and mentorship when women's names come up and they say, yeah, you know what, I think Meredith Singletary would be fantastic for that role. And reaching out to women to talk to them about how they can get to that next level. Ensuring that women are invited to the table and welcome to have the conversations. They feel like they're, in a space where they are welcome. If they are in a room where there's only one woman, right, making sure that you are clear that their voice is important and that you want to hear from them, all of those kinds of things, right? So some of it is day-to-day work, and then some of it is the bigger, broader leadership work.
But we need women mentors too, don't we? And
for sure.
It's kind of a chicken and egg situation, is it not? Because you need to get the women mentors in place in order to draw other women into the organization, but you can't get those in place until you draw them into the organization. So where are we now with the ability of women to serve as mentors themselves, and how important is that in an organization today?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a critical piece that everyone should be participating in it. But sometimes I think that men feel like maybe they don't want to mentor women, or a lot of times people just think that they want to mentor people who are like them, right? It feels comfortable if you were at the same university that you guys can sort of bond over what the football team did that weekend. But it is important that you consider, mentoring other people. So I think men and women both have a place at the mentorship and sponsorship table for sure.
Oh, you're describing a problem, the whole problem of diversity in business today. It rests in the fact that we get our contacts from people who are like us, that went to the schools we went to. We don't even have an understanding of where other sources might be. And so I guess now we're talking about bringing the problem all the way back to the education system, to college, to high school, to get women into classes in which they get excited about this career at a very early age. So are you seeing progress in that area too?
Absolutely. Our college recruiting is a huge place where we're able to bring females into the industry. I often say that little girls don't necessarily grow up dreaming of working in warehouses. Not necessarily that little boys do either.
No, I don't think little boys do either.
Yeah, but I don't even think that a lot of little girls know and understand what supply chain means, right? So we're doing work actually with Girl Scouts of America, connecting with what we view as future female leaders and trying to teach them about what is supply chain, and the fact that they distribute those delicious cookies out to all of
Mhm.
us. I mean, certainly I'm excited about my Thin Mints this year. And that work that they do, that distribution work, that is what we do in supply chain, right? The
There you
distribution
go.
of product,
What a great lesson for the supply chain for them to learn where the product is sourced, how
right?
it's distributed, how they can allocate, the SKUs to the ones that are selling the best. I
That's
mean,
right.
are the Girl Scouts and you folks taking full advantage of that opportunity at this point?
Yeah, so we actually do volunteer groups in different areas. So right now is Girl Scout cookie season, and we do go what they call their mega cookie drops, and that's when they bring
Mm.
all of their product into a local area and get it out to all of the troops. And it's a massive process, and we actually go in many different locations and help them with that. We help get their process streamlined a bit more sometimes. And we volunteer our time with the Girl Scouts. And we talk about the fact that this is supply chain work. In fact, we have a two-part podcast series talking, and we call it From Cookies to Careers. And that's
Mm.
the whole concept, is that these are future female leaders, and we want them to know and understand what is supply chain and what does it mean.
So, what are your targets for women leaders in supply chain, particularly in terms of amount and year? Do you have a deadline by which you'd like to see some improvement?
Yeah, so as a company, we're working to get 30% of our female leaders to be female by the year 2025. So it's
Hmm.
aggressive targets. Today in North America, we're at about 26%, and we are growing year over year, which is exciting. In a company as big as ours, if you talk about growing by 1 percentage point, frankly, that's a lot more female leaders helping to lead our business. And it has been something, we have to attack that in a lot of different ways on the attraction side and the
Hmm.
retention side of the house. You were talking earlier about those college recruits. We have targets of having 40% of our college recruits and interns being female. It's a great pipeline for us. People who are in college and potentially studying supply chain can come directly into our organization. And we hire in quite a few college recruits every year as well.
40% sounds better than 30%. I mean, 30% is still less than a third. And of course, as we know, women make up about 51% of the population. So there's,
That's
even
right.
by 2025, there's going to be a ways to go.
That's right. And always work to do in this space, right? I mean, it's not an easy magic pill that you can just, I mean, we have so many different pieces that we're trying to work on in order to attract more. But the good news is it appears to be working for us, right? The data
Yeah.
would show that we have been successful, and we have groups of people who talk about lots of different things, Girl Scouts, college recruits, all of those pieces, what the culture looks like. There are so many components to it, but I would tell you that it is changing for us, right? And I can see it just visibly when you're with groups of people. We are getting
Mhm.
more and more female leaders, which is really exciting.
But it's not just the number of female leaders. What about the issue of pay disparity?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think that's something that people bring up often. And for us, we base our pay on the market. So all of our hourly employees are paid the exact same. It's all based on on the tenure of them, and so there's definitely no differences there. In our
Mhm.
leadership ranks, as we look at that, we do a lot of market-based analysis to ensure that we are paying the same, based on the local geography that you're in. So I think there is always, again, going to be more room to grow in that area, but based on our analysis, I think we're doing pretty well there.
One of the elements that we hear in explaining the so-called great resignation is the great number of women who have at least temporarily left the workforce, whether voluntarily or not. In many cases, the latter, because they're stuck at home taking care of kids who still aren't at school. They're taking care of elders. Of course, this falls to women more than it does to men. Do you think that's an issue now? And do you see it being resolved anytime soon?
Yeah, so I mean, the great resignation is definitely something that we're experiencing, and finding people who want to come to work every day is absolutely a challenge that we face every day, right? That's work that we do all the time.
Mhm.
But again, as it relates to females and males, we're still growing our female representation year over year, month over month, right? Those are numbers that I look at regularly, and that is something that we continue to grow in. So although I think it's a overall challenge to make sure that we are able to hire people in today's market and get them to come to work and stay at work. But we are not seeing that we are losing more women than men. Our female representation is growing.
Well, so much more work to be done, Meredith Singletary of DHL Supply Chain. But I guess I kind of hear you saying the glass is half full. I,
I
I
mean,
hear optimism in your tone.
Absolutely. I feel, I mean, I'm a woman who has been in supply chain for the last 15 years, and I can
Mhm.
tell you it feels different. We are doing work intentionally to ensure that we're able to grow this. Whereas 15 years ago, I don't think we were in the same way. And so having that kind of focused efforts and having people who care about it and talk about it, it is bearing fruit for us. And I think as a woman who personally experiences it, it's been really rewarding and exciting work to do.
So much more to be said on this topic, but in the meantime, Meredith Singletary, thank you so much for talking to me about this critical issue of diversity in supply chain leadership positions. Thank you for being with me.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.